So period appropriate with my shag.
Yeah.
If anything, I just look like Jamie and just do this the whole way.
I guess I should have done like a small little updo for the past.
Put my hair back down. Good God.
Just make it real fluffy.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Kristin.
And I'm Rachel.
Yay! And today we are going to, this is So I'm Watching Outlander.
Woohoo! Finally!
We're watching Outlander. We're starting from the beginning. We don't have a plan for how this is going to release yet. Sometime probably in the year 2022. I want to at least get...
Oh my God, it's about to be 2022.
About to be 2022.
What the fuck?
I'd like to get a handful done before we start posting them. So I am not caught up fully on the show, and I also am two and a half books behind. But we're starting from the beginning.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I don't know where I want to start. Do you have a starting point?
Well, how did Outlander come into your life?
So I think it started in a weird point where we had stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that was unusual because we only pay for HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think had stars at the time. And so I was just seeing trailers for it constantly. And I was that looks interesting. And they started doing trailers way early for it, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it's books. So I read the books and there were 5 or 6 out at the time.
8 of them.
8 of them were already out when the show started?
Yep.
Then I read the first 5 so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling my husband about it because I was like, oh my God, these books. And he was like, how long are they? And I was like, so long. They're so long. And each one was subsequently longer. And
They're
I was
so girthy.
Yeah. I was like, this one's 1,400 pages. And he was like, Jesus Christ. He was could not handle it. But I was fully obsessed. I also want to say it's this is, I think, the first romance novel I ever read.
I would agree with you on that one for me as well.
I'm not opposed to romance novels. And since this, I've read many romance novels, including in the last month, all of the Bridgerton books.
Oh, wait, that's a lie for me because I think my first romance series were the Tea books, the Tea Rose books.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of... there are romantic books I've read, but I wouldn't classify them as romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
But these are definitely the first ones. And have you seen the original covers?
Maybe?
They are hilarious. Did you remember when I showed you the original covers of the Bridgerton series?
Yeah.
They're like that.
Oh, no.
It's bad. It's really bad and funny.
No.
They're just still lifes.
I have that one.
Yeah, so
I have that one.
The reissues look like that, these. But these
goodness.
are that's the first one.
And if they looked that way, I can tell you right now, I would not have picked it up.
For sure. Basically, as soon as I found out about the show and I bought the books, I was all in, immediately. And then I got to the point where I was like, I love this book so much, the show's gonna ruin it. The show's gonna do a bad job. And then I remember watching the show and I was like, the show's doing such a good job. It's so good.
I actually can't remember. Does it say, I tried to pull it up let me see.
When the first episode aired?
Yes.
August 2014.
Okay. So I will tell you exactly when I got the book. And it was January 8th, 2015.
Okay.
So I honestly, because my memory is a little bad, I can't remember. No, I think I had to have read the books first, and I think I saw clips and stuff from the show. And then I think I did it. I honestly can't remember, but once I was in, I was fucking in
all the way.
And I, like you, I did everything except I'm caught all the way up. To the point that this is book 9.
Yeah.
So this just came out the 23rd of November. And this is called Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. I am in the middle of another book right now, so I can't start that yet. But once I finish it, I'm going to start this, and I'm very excited. Mildly excited.
Sort of excited.
They're in America. America's boring. So that's just, I'm so good. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Because I had to bail out. There's like tons of characters go back and to the past and back to the future and back to the past and back to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like bailed out, not on like angrily or anything, but I bailed out when like two of those characters go back to the present. And I was like, ugh. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I am going to finish. But at this point, I'm like, it's been so long that I feel like I'm one of those people where like every time I started reading the Game of Thrones books again, I started from the beginning. So it's like there's so many, and like I told you, I don't think I finished book 6 or 7, I don't remember. And so I just was like, I feel like I don't remember enough of like especially books 3 and 4 to like go forward. So anyway, yes, we're obsessed, as you can see our little Scottish thing here. And also,
yes, please tell the viewers about this thing right here.
So my brother-in-law, who is amazing, hi Arthur, I don't think you watch any of these, but on the off chance, he actually bought us 1 square foot of Scotland. And so my husband and I are now Lord and Lady of 1 square foot in Scotland. Very exciting. I don't remember if it's in the Highlands or not. You can like look and see where it is based on this number, like where your plot is.
That's really neat.
But yeah, so we are Scottish nobility. Take that. And then we have Lagavulin, the bandadiest tasting scotch I've ever experienced. And
can't do it.
I actually straight up don't remember what this is called. It's like a clèche or something like that. But it's for like drinking water. And it's like it's like antler.
Cute.
Carved antler.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And I bought it in Edinburgh.
I love that. Yeah. Well, and then we have Claire and Jamie back here.
They always sit there.
Yes. So I got these for you for Christmas in
a while ago.
15 or 16. I was living in Chicago. So I think I've told you this story, but
because I feel really bad about it.
No. So I got on a waiting list for these pop toys on this website called like Toy Whiz or something. And so I got them, and then we were like talking all the time about Outlander and how obsessed we were. And so I was like, let me go ahead and give these to Kristin. I know she'll really like them. So I'll do that, and I'll just go buy them again for myself. Well, I found Claire. Jamie went away. He went into the vault and will never come out. But I think that's kind of funny because it's like the parallel for the books. So Pop Toys, I beg of you, please come back out with a Jamie Fraser because my Claire needs him.
Yeah, he also is like $300 on the secondary market. Yeah. He's so expensive because I have looked into getting you one. But I love you so much, but I don't have that kind of coin.
No, that's okay. That's all right. And I desperately want historically accurate like stays that are $308. So I would like fully be in costume. I'm sweating my balls off in this, by the way. Yeah. So you're welcome, everyone. I'm committing.
Take a swig of scotch. You'll feel better.
Do you want to see how red my face can get? Because that's what will happen.
This belongs to my husband. I hate it.
Yeah, no, I don't want to yuck his yum, but that is yuck.
All right. Yuck. So, episode 1, Sassenach. When you first watched it, what were your first thoughts?
This is incredible.
Yeah.
It was so close to the books.
Yeah.
I mean, they took so much dialogue straight from the novel, which I really appreciate.
It depends. We talked about it in our Twilight episode. It depends. Well, and it depends on your caliber of actor or actress, because the other thing, too, is that there are a couple things that Katrina says as Claire that I'm like, I'm just like, that was too much. Like the first time she says Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ, I'm just like,
Well, because she looks like she's sneezing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a lot of words to get out an exclamation.
Yeah.
I think if I were to deliver it, it'd be more or less like Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ. Yeah. Like it would be a little bit more like this, where she's like, Jesus H. Roosevelt Christ.
It was really coming from the back of the teeth.
I mean, with her whole chest. So, yeah. But I think that, because I know that Diana Galbadon, the author, I think she had a lot to do with being on set and working really closely on the script, which I think is really, really important.
And I think she's a producer.
Yes.
Even still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was just really refreshing because I think out of all of the books that I've read that have since been turned into films, this is probably the closest, and the changes that were made, I liked them almost better.
Because that's one of the things that I said while we were watching the first episode is some things are different, but I like so much the way they were made different because it really, I mean, the first like handful of chapters are, there's like so many chapters of Claire and Frank on their honeymoon. And I'm just sort of like, when do we get to the good part?
Yeah.
And so I like that it was like, she is in Scotland, like 25 minutes into the first episode, like halfway through the first episode, she is, I mean, they're in Scotland the whole time, but she's in the past, like 25 minutes through. And so I really, really, really appreciate that. And the fact that like, there's just a big amount of shorthand.
Yes. Took the word right out of my brain.
Yeah. There's a lot more shorthand where it's like, even the conversation that they have where he is like not accusing, but sort of like bitchily asking if she hooked up with anybody during the war and stuff. It's like that goes on for like a page and a half in the book. And it's like an exchange of like 3 sentences in the show. And it's just like so much more tightly done, the whole thing. I really, really appreciate that. All the changes that they made, and one specifically, which is that instead of going to Loch Ness on like a tour, they do a tour of Loch Ness in a castle. They instead go to Castle Leoch, which is, we're going to go there when we're in the past. And they like, they have sex in what is going to be in a room that's going to be important to Claire later. But the thing about it that I like the most is that it's 1945. World War II has just ended. And she does like push his head down a little, but he straight up goes to town.
Yes.
Down on her.
Yes.
And it's like, it's just like, that was the moment when I was watching the show where I was like, oh, this is what a show for women feels like.
Yes, exactly. A woman who has a healthy understanding of what she likes, you know, and is not afraid to ask for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, 1945, because I mean, so many women, I mean, myself included, I mean, you have to really make that work and
100%.
understand it. And we have so much more information available to us now.
Yeah. Well, it's also, it informs Claire so much. It informs her character so much, which is very important because not only is she modern for the 1700s, she's very modern for the 1940s as well. And that's very important. And I think even on the flip side of that, it informs Frank in a really interesting way because he is not an alpha male. He is a scholar. He was only in the war because it was the World War. And so that to me is very interesting that he is not only willing to be submissive to her, but also then he seems to be extremely enjoying it.
Well, and then also their positions in World War II are show very much who they are as people as well. I mean, she's covered in blood and guts, you know, the whole time. And I think he was an officer, so he, you know, he would travel in packs. He likely didn't see any battle whatsoever.
And also there is so I started reading the first book again today so that I could sort of refresh how it compares. And one of the things that she says when they're watching the women at the stone circle is that she notes how much he's able to like quietly move around. And she's like, not for the first time, I wondered what his job in the war had been. So it's likely he was a spy.
Yes.
Which is also super interesting. And like Tobias Menzies just gives off like 1940s British spy.
Yes, he does.
Like, that's the vibe I get from him. So we have slightly differing opinions on Frank. Tell me your feelings about Frank.
I don't care for Frank.
You're like hard no on Frank. Is it even now, even early Frank, or only the Frank we have yet to see?
So it's okay. Unfortunately, Frank doesn't get a fair shake from me anymore because I know it's going to happen.
Okay.
He's a tragic character in that he's never given a full chance.
Yeah.
You know, because who could compare to Jamie?
No one.
Exactly. I remember when I read it the first time and I sort of felt sympathetic towards him, but the conversation, or I guess his fumbling through asking her if she had been with anyone in the war, I think that he did that because he wanted to say, well, I have too.
Yeah. I think he didn't expect her to take the vows as seriously as she did.
Yes.
Because that's another thing in the book because it goes on longer, and he's like, 6 years is a really long time. And then at the end of the chapter, she's like, I thought back, and it's like 6 years is a long time. I wonder why he was asking me that. And it's
I just remember the first time I read that, I think I set my book down and I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That rubs me the wrong way.
So, okay, again, though, the thing is, I've been pulling a lot of things to New Girl lately, but I have watched it like 12 times since COVID happened. One of my favorite things is like Jess is talking about a man, and she's like reconnecting with a man, and she's like, we like meet during war times. You can forgive a lot during wartime. And I'm just like, you can forgive a lot during wartime. 6 years, they got married, and then they saw each other for a cumulative 10 days for the next 6 years.
I don't know. I would excuse Claire more than I would excuse Frank.
Well, sure. And I'll tell you exactly why I would. And it's because Claire would have been fucking doctors.
Yeah.
And Frank would have been fucking prostitutes.
Yeah, and also, too...
French prostitutes.
Yeah, and also, too, I mean, for me, it would be a sort of solace for Claire because she is watching boys... Men and literal boys die every day.
And it does feel as though Frank would have just been bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And they were having like an officers' dinner. Yeah. And so then of course there'd be like sex workers arriving, like French sex workers arriving, trying to like find someone to get them out of like Nazi occupied of whatever. Yeah. And so he just is there's always been something slightly off kilter about him to me.
Yeah.
And then once we figure out that he is descendant and just how awful Black Jack is, done, goodbye forever.
So that's the other thing to me is he gives me, so I'm very sympathetic to Frank because this is, again, you're like, who can compare? And it's like, that's, he knows, I think, that he can't compare. And, we have established that we both think he was probably cheating during the war. And so the other thing I'll say is that you can sort of forgive it when you might die at any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff is all well and good, but there is a part of him that always vibed for me. Like he was so interested in Claire because of her like dominance as like a person, and because she's so smart and her life was so interesting, and she's sort of bawdy for a woman in the 40s, and she knows her mind, and she like has all of this extra knowledge.
Well, also,
her uncle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's more of like a collector's item to him.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going. Where it's like he, I think, is very intrigued with her. But because they didn't actually get to know each other, he's just sort of like, it's a very you're not like other girls type of thing.
And those type of men love women like that in the beginning. But then
he's like, you are not what I need long to, like, he's going to be a Don at Oxford. Yeah. He needs a different wife.
He needs someone softer and quieter. Yeah. And that will fall into line beside him 100%. Or slightly behind him where she really she can hold her own and honestly outshine him.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. Like it's so funny. I was actually talking about this with somebody yesterday. Just men love women like that. But then when those women don't fall into that role, then they start to resent that woman for 100%. That because it's like, well, no, we did the thing. So now you should fit into the traditional role.
Yeah.
And a woman like Claire will never,
she's like,
ever.
No.
Yeah. No, when she tries, which we find out in season 2, season 2. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But,
that's the nuts and bolts of my feelings for Frank, where like I feel like he didn't really have a chance in like any capacity because, again, she's so ahead of her time and he's very of his time. Right. And so it's like none of this was going to work out. But what I do appreciate, and I think it's in season 1, but I think it does carry over into season 2, is we see a lot more of Frank's internal stuff because we stay with Frank sometimes. We're not always in the past with Claire like the book is. We see Frank like desperately searching for her and like wondering what's happened and like not being able to move on, and like that to me is very interesting, and I think it gives Tobias Menzies a good chance to shine. And the other thing I'll say is he is so different as Frank versus Blackjack.
Oh, yeah.
It's remarkable. I think he's a great actor. I've liked him a lot. He's been in a handful of James Bond movies, which is really cool.
Mhm.
And he was in Game of Thrones. He played Catelyn's like cousin or nephew or brother even maybe. I just really think he's actually great. And so I have a lot more sympathy for Frank, but I am then on your team, especially the season 2 and later stuff where I'm just like, I mean, why though? Why are you allowing, like, why is this continuing to happen? I think it's important that we talk about Frank because I don't think he's as cut and dry bad.
No, because I mean, that's where I go back to he never gets a fair shake because
he's also such a victim of circumstance.
Exactly. And but I think where we lose him where we lose him is how he deals with it, because you can be a victim of circumstance and you can kind of take it on the chin and just figure your shit out. Yeah. And he is incapable of doing that. Yeah. So it goes back to what you're saying of him being very of his time.
He is a 1940s man. Yeah. And that's the thing about Claire is she is like a 1980s woman. You know, it's like she still has like some gender norms and stuff, but she is very like way ahead of the curve.
Which is then so funny because she fits in so well in the 1700s. Yeah. I mean, as far as like the roughneck of it all, you know, she absolutely does not fit in as far as societal norms or anything like that. But going back to what you were talking about before about the shorthand and them changing little bits here and there when they were in the surgery or the part of Castle Leoch, I think that was really cool how in this episode they made it very clear that she is not like she's existing in two different times at the same time.
Already. Oh God, I just got chills. You're totally right, because already she feels weird about everything. And it's like she's already had that meeting with Mrs. Graham who like does her tea leaves and reads her palm, and she's like, your like marriage line is forked. It's not broken. So it's like you're gonna have two husbands, but like you're not a secret bigamist, are you?
Right.
Like,
and I think it was really important for us to see her in her surgery book in the 40s, knowing full well that we're going to see her again later. So it's just like she's always in this juxtaposition.
I love it.
And it was just a really interesting way to do that, because it just shows that she is a traveler, that she doesn't really exist in time and space, like 100%.
Love it.
And I thought that was really fascinating. I gave myself chills.
I know. It's so good. So I guess, like we said, we establish her relationship with Frank. They're like trying to reconnect because they've been married for 7 years, but they've spent like one total month together. Which, I mean, honestly, don't get married. Don't get married in war times, you guys. Yeah. But then, you know, she goes and she touches the stones. She goes back in time. Real quick about that. Yeah.
So we see, before that happens, we see her and Frank stumble upon the druids. I have a question for you, because I'm very curious about how you take this. Do you think that Mrs. Graham and her druids are worshiping at the stones, or do you think that they are unlocking the stones because Mrs. Graham has met Claire and she assumes that she is a traveler?
I just got chills again.
Because I'm never really sure how I think. I just find it very convenient that they just happen. Because I mean, without really knowing anything about the druid practice, and if y'all are hiring, please hire me, because I would love that.
So, but it is a sun feast day or whatever. It's how do you say it? Samhain?
No, it's not. I don't.
It is. It is
Samhain?
Yeah.
I thought that they did that in honor of Saint Offren's Day.
I am like pretty sure it's like close to Halloween. I thought.
Oh no, I don't know now.
I feel like I have to go back and
I know.
I'm pretty sure, because it's like in some of the later stuff they like have to wait for Beltane, which is the springtime one. Because I think it's like an equinox thing. I think it can happen on the solstice as well, but I think it's an equinox thing.
But then I thought that was what Galus brought up, and Claire challenges it because Galus thinks that, spoiler alert, sorry, if you haven't done it, go away now. Galus thinks that you have to do a sacrifice and have some kind of jewel. But then Claire was like, I don't know. I just kind of fall in and out of it. Because it's not like they waited particularly after the Battle of Culloden, because he just pushed her back. Or she just went back.
Yeah. No, he gives her like a ring. Because when she comes to, the stone is burned out.
Oh, that's right. Well, then what was she wearing when she went through the first time?
No, nothing. The first time was horrible. Like that, it just happened. But I think the gateway was open because it was the sun festival day, sun feast or whatever.
Maybe. Well, now we need to go back.
We're gonna double check. Is what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But yeah. So and then she goes through the stones and is almost immediately nearly raped by Blackjack.
I'm sorry, but I don't. Are they just always at the ready to just be like, I'm gonna put it in? Like, because what? But I mean, he also gets off. He's got some weird kinks.
Weird kinks. She ran away from him, which was the first mistake.
Yeah.
And then she spit on him, which also just revved it up a little more.
And she was scream growling at him too. Yeah, and he really likes it when they scream.
He really does like it when they scream. So, what must that be like? You know, getting almost, you're in this so weird situation. You still think you're maybe stumbled on a movie set somehow. Yeah. And then a man who looks exactly like your husband is just like ready to take it from you. Mm-hmm. Horrible. So she does get rescued though by Murtaugh. Round of applause for Murtaugh. I love him. He's one of my faves.
Yeah, he's delightful.
Of the Highlanders. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorite. And then she runs away from him too. I get it. You know, she's scared. She is in what is essentially underwear.
Yeah.
Even though it's like a really cute dress when she first puts it on.
Very cute. Very chic sheath.
Yeah. So basically we just get introduced to the cast of characters. We meet Dougal and Rupert and Angus. But most importantly, we meet Jamie, whose shoulder is dislocated and Claire has to put it back in place because otherwise all of these fucking jabronis are gonna break his arm in half because they're stupid. Which she does. And then I think I love one of my favorite things about this show, and specifically the first handful of episodes, is that they're all suspicious of her. Dougal thinks she's a spy, an English spy. But one of my favorite things is that they are all just flummoxed by her. Mm-hmm. Yep. She almost immediately enraptures all of them because of the way she speaks, the way she orders them around, the way she's dressed, but also how she's knowledgeable about lots of different things. I'm obsessed with the looks they all give her. And especially when she's fixing Jamie at a certain point and she says, go fetch me a belt. And Rupert is it's not Rupert, it's Angus. And he's like, oh, go fetch me, she says. And Dougal is just give her your belt. He's like, fuck her almost. And it's just I do love that Dougal ends up deferring to her about things like that. And that continues for the most part.
I think that it's very telling of his position as a war chief, that he's very smart. He might be a little shady, but he is.
But yeah, I think you're right about the war chief part of it. Also, as we come to find out, he is essentially more in charge of Clan Mackenzie than anyone else who should maybe be.
I also feel there must be some sort of cultural thing in the Scottish Highlands, or I don't know, just Scottish people in general. And I mean, this might just be wishful thinking, but I feel because we meet a lot of very strong women in this show and in this world. And so I'm wondering if the men are just kind of used to women speaking up or barking at them, and they just kind of I mean, they'll put their foot down, you know, gender norms, whatever, of the time. But they do tend to listen.
Yeah. We also do not see, with the exception of the actual villainous characters, there's not a lot of woman beating.
No.
Which is great.
Well, Dougal says we do not do with rape.
Yeah.
So I'm thanks.
I do love that he qualifies it after by saying, and we also don't have time.
Yeah. Well, because it's just he doesn't want to seem like he's too cool. Yeah.
I don't hold with that, but even if I did, we're running out of time.
I'm tired.
There's no time for it. But yeah, I do love that because we'll also, like you said, we see multiple women. Galus is like that. Mrs. Fitz is like that.
Jenny.
Cullum's wife is like that. Jenny is like that. Every woman that we encounter for the most part, especially in Scotland, is like that. I mean, even some of the French women in season 2 are like that. So I definitely agree. I think that's a good part.
Which, I mean, hooray for giving women of that time agency. I mean, I don't know how period accurate it is, but I like to think it might be accurate.
It feels realistic enough.
Yeah.
And like maybe that is, you know, me living in 2021 speaking or the way that she writes it, because they are all written that way too.
Right.
And that's like the thing that I think is important. So
yeah, because I know that there have been strong women throughout history. I mean, I think Claire would 100% be an anomaly.
Yeah.
She's a little too outspoken for the time.
There's a reason why she almost gets burned as a witch.
Yeah. And attacked all the time.
Constantly.
But
every once in a while on this show, I'm like, Claire,
shut up.
Shut your mouth.
Yes. Like you do everything else so well, just beep every once in a while.
Stop mouthing off to the men with muskets.
Yeah, or just that are just strapped with knives.
Yeah, knives
on every
head to
inch
toe.
of them. Yeah. And are just totally willing to just whip it out at any time.
The knives.
Yeah.
But also,
but also, you know, I was about to make a really crude joke, and I'm really glad I stopped myself. But no, I think it's really great, and I really like that the men do sometimes defer to the women, and they do listen, and especially that I feel like Claire doesn't have to fight that hard. Like, yes, she does kind of have to push every now and then. Like, she did have to push for them to let her help Jamie.
But he almost never, like, pushes back on her. Like, not they argue, but he is never like, you're my wife, listen to me.
Oh, well, he tries it once and then never again.
He really does.
Never again.
But yeah, I think this is one of, like, maybe the best meet cutes ever.
It makes me, so it's really interesting how I keep finding these series in certain aspects of my life, because I did find this at a certain aspect of my life, and it's these, like, he by far is one of the best male characters ever and has ruined me forever.
Yeah.
Because no one is, you know, I feel like singing the Gaston song. No one's as strong as Jamie. Yep. No one's as emotional as Jamie.
He is
no
emotional.
one fucks his wife just like Jamie. It's so
the truth.
Good.
It's really so good. And then, like, it's like immediately they have like a banter. Like, immediately he's very chivalrous with her. He's like, but he's also, he doesn't really know what to make of her yet and stuff. And
but he finds her fascinating, and he's curious about her, and he wants to get to know her and understand her. And he just, like, because why would a woman in that day and age know anything about
100%.
Fixing any kind of
And then
malignancy?
she, like, I think my favorite part is that after he falls off the horse because he got shot and didn't say anything, she just, like, rips part of her slip off to, like, press the wound. And they all kind of look at her and they're like, oh.
Yeah,
like,
where are the pearls?
And they, like, cannot make heads of her tails of her. And I think that that's my favorite part. And so, I mean, we are going extremely long. So I was going to wrap it up. Unless you have anything else specific about this one.
It's a great episode, and I'm very excited to keep going.
I love it. So at the end, they make it to Castle Leoch, and now it's in its full glory. It's not ruins anymore. We're about to meet Mrs. Fitz. I love her. It's going to be exciting. So,
you know what I really can't wait for when we get to episode 7?
Yeah, same. Hard same. Me too. It won't be tonight, unfortunately. No. But soon.
But gird your loins, y'all, because woo! Sorry, Will.
All right. We will be back after episode 2.
Okay. Oh, do we need to do the thingy? The monies?
Give us it.